Babe Ruth for the all-time home run record. Here's the call from Milo Hamilton.
Here's the pitch by Downing. Swinging. There's a drive into left center field. That ball is going to be out of here. It's gone. It's 7:15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron.
One of the legendary moments in the history of that or any sport. Let's talk about that sport. After reports that Major League Baseball was working to return as early as May, with all 30 teams in the greater Phoenix area, Major League Baseball then released a statement yesterday saying they're not ready to endorse any particular plan. Meanwhile, reaction poured in from current and former players to this Arizona proposal.
I think it's going to be tough. I don't know if I could look at my kids just through a screen for 4 or 5 months. And same thing goes with my wife, just not being able to be around. That's a long time. I think there's a lot of figuring out to do. I think there's a right way to do this, and I'm confident that Major League Baseball, the Players Association, all the owners, all the teams, players, I think that we're going to be able to find a way to come together and iron this stuff out.
When the news broke and I found out about it, my first reaction was, this is great. They're really working hard to try to bring baseball back. And I was happy about that. Now, if you look at the logistics and trying to figure out all the hurdles and the challenges that they're going to have to go through to make it happen, you can start to pick apart those things and start to figure. But I was left with, hey, isn't this wonderful that we're trying to bring it back? Because I personally believe that baseball is magical. I was witnessing the role that baseball played after 9/11. And I think baseball does have that ability to repair and to help and heal. And I think there's a role here to play when we come out of this situation we're in now.
Some other favorable reaction from Rockies third baseman Nolan Arenado. He told the Denver Post, quote, "If it's safe, I'm in. I believe these ideas wouldn't be thrown around if it wasn't approved or can't be approved. I want to get back out there and play." Yankee reliever Adam Ottavino had a different or similar sentiment, I should say, with the New York Post. "I don't have any good insight, but I would be in the camp of supporting the idea. I'm sure a lot would have to go right for it to actually happen, but I'm hoping it can work because I want to play." So that's some favorable reaction. Let's bring in our guy. This is Mark Teixeira. Tex, there's some of that supportive reaction. When you read through Jeff Passan's report and the notion of this possibility, this bubble city situation in Arizona, what was your first thought?
Well, let me be clear, Greeny. Players want to play. They absolutely want to get out there as soon as possible. They're going to be supportive of anything that gets them on the field and gets those checks starting to get written from the owners. That being said, this current plan is completely unrealistic. If you actually look at the logistics, like Cal Ripken said, like Chris Sale said, there is no way that you're going to be able to bring guys to Arizona that early, first of all, May, mobilize them for a couple weeks and start playing games. The logistics of this, trying to keep 4 guys or guys there for 4 months in Arizona, just can't happen this way.
Why?
Well, first of all, players are used to being their, weight room and their batting cages and all the extra work you can do. There's going to be no extra work. There's going to be very little.
Now, this is a shame. We're losing his signal here, and this is such an interesting part of this conversation because I have notes from Tex. I sort of know where he's going ahead with all of this, and we will try and work on his signal and get him back again because I think that it's very worth hearing his thoughts, his concerns. Look, I think any of us will agree, those of us who want to see sports come back as soon as it is safe and healthy for that to take place, that the mere fact that they are coming up with creative ideas in and of itself is a good idea. We'll see if they're able to figure out a way to make it happen. All right, in the meantime, as we go back to Tex a little later, let's get to some football. Washington is sitting at number 2. A lot of decisions for the Skins as it relates to that selection in the draft. They could take a quarterback. They would be doing so 1 year after they took Dwayne Haskins. They could draft a position player, probably Chase Young, or they could trade down. Ron Rivera talked about it very openly yesterday.
If you're going to make a trade and you're going to go back, that guy you're going to take at that spot has to be able to make the kind of impact you need to validate missing an opportunity to take a player that's a high impact guy. If player A is going to play for you for 10 years, player D may not, then did you really get value or just get a whole bunch of picks? So you've got to be able to sit there and say that the next guy that I'm going to take is going to be that high impact guy.
Now, look, you probably have learned the lesson not to just believe everything everyone says around the time of the draft, but it feels like he's essentially saying, we're going to take Chase Young, and that's all there is to it. I've got D. Wood, who joins the group as well here. But, Rex, I'm going to start with you as my defensive guy. Is taking Chase Young with the second pick in the draft the right thing for Ron Rivera to do?
Absolutely is. There's no question about it. Look, they've already got 2 young quarterbacks on their roster, so the thought of Tua, that there's no chance this team does that. So to me, it's a slam dunk here. We've seen the impact that pass rushers can come in the league and have. We saw it last year with Bosa. We've seen it with Von Miller. That's another way to win. So you get a player like this. He comes around once every 10 years, and I understand Bosa was there last year, but this doesn't happen. So this is a rare guy. Is he? He's at least Khalil Mack. So to me, the impact he's going to make, you're talking about a perennial Pro Bowl player and a guy that's going to have a major impact on that Washington Redskin team. So without question, that's the only selection for them.
That's interesting. Let me push back a little bit on you, Rex, because I've watched your defenses all of my life, and very closely, obviously, when you were the coach of the Jets. And it didn't feel to me like you always built everything around one spectacular pass rusher. Would you rather have the one great pass rusher or 2 or 3 really good players on your defense you might be able to get if you traded back?
No, I mean, you have the one elite pass rusher. If I had a pass rusher like this kid, it would have been a joke. I would have had all those trophies right there, would have said my name on them, not just my family's. So to me, and that's a fact. So, look, we had to get real creative on defense because we never had a guy like this. These guys are so rare. They come around, very rarely. So you've got to, this is great. Like Ron Rivera, you can't land a better player for him. You already got the young quarterback on your roster. You bring in another kid that's a young guy that you had before. So to me, this is a slam dunk, no-brainer for the Redskins. And now you got to watch it because, man, they got depth in that D-line. They're going to be able to rush the passer in the fourth quarter with all that kind of depth. So to me, I think it'd be a great pick for them.
Let me go to the guy who would have to block him, and that's my buddy D. Wood. Damian Woody, the idea of this player, when you could trade out of that spot and maybe try and add several impact players, but maybe not one as spectacular as he is. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, Green, a lot of people always assume that you can just trade down, but it's very hard to trade down out of those top spots like that. And when you got a guy like Chase Young, listen, the things that he did at Ohio State was just tremendous. He has the perfect blend of size, speed, hands, all those bend, all those things that the elite pass rushers have. And Rex is right. When you have an opportunity to draft a game changer like this guy and add him along the line of, I think the Redskins have like 3 other first-round picks along that line. They have depth, and those guys affect the game similar to like the way the San Francisco 49ers defensive line did last year. So if I'm Ron Rivera, I'm walking the card up there now, even though the draft's not until 2 weeks.
Nick, let me ask you this. You have the opportunity to take a young quarterback. Young quarterbacks on their rookie deals tend to have a lot of success in the NFL. You'd be turning your back on that. What would be your thought?
Yeah, I don't think that's the only way to build a championship team. I think that the seed that can build a championship team can be a great game-changing defensive, a potential Hall of Famer. And I think Rex brought up Von Miller. He's the perfect example because before Von Miller came there, the Broncos were not doing very well. He gets there, all of a sudden they go to the playoffs 5 straight years, the Super Bowl twice, and he's the MVP of the Super Bowl. And it's not just because Vaughn was great. It's because, again, you get him on that rookie deal. They had money to pick up DeMarcus Ware. They had money to get Aqib Talib. They had money to go after Peyton Manning, all because they were getting Hall of Fame level production from a very important position. So I know we get all excited when a team gets a young quarterback and we say, their championship window is here and it's here now. If you can get a guy who has Hall of Fame potential and who is a perennial Pro Bowler on defense at an impact position like pass rusher, I think you can do the same things that you would do at a quarterback spot. You can build a team around that, and that one person can be the kernel that you build a strong championship run off of.
I want to make it clear what I'm referring to here. I'm not suggesting that Washington would take Tua. I'm suggesting if someone wanted to give them, to use an overused expression, a king's ransom because that team wanted to go up and assure themselves of getting Tua, and you trade out of that spot if you're Washington, you lose the opportunity perhaps to get Chase Young, but maybe get a bunch of other defensive players. I guess what I'm asking you, Rex Ryan, is would you rather have one great player on your defense or 3 really good ones?
I'd rather have a great one. You can always find good players. And so to me, you don't have great players. Look, I've done it. We saw what we did when we had Darrelle Revis, one great player. All right, a lot of good players, but one great one. And if you get a guy like that, oh my God, it tilts the field. And so to me, there's no way. You don't even entertain the fact. Look, you can get 3 first-round picks, 2 first-round picks. They can end up being really good players, but they're not great players. You win with the superstar player, and I think this young man has that ability.
All right, so there's Rex Ryan there. I have no takers. It does sound like certainly my entire group has Chase Young going 2 to Washington.